I'd just say you're just way more, from a business perspective, way more mature than the average 20 or 21-year-old. I mean, that's a young adult is what we'll say, right? So, like, walk me through that. Like, how'd you get there?
I just figured this out too. Like, when it comes to being mature for a young kid, like I was telling you before, just walking on Broadway, some people are just partying it up, and I love it. Like, it's a great atmosphere. A lot of businesses making a lot of money off of that partying. It was never my scene. I was always the kid at home just watching Yankee games growing up, knowing exactly what I wanted to do, watching Michael Kay on the Yes Network. I was like, I want to do that. He gets paid to call New York Yankee games and baseball games.
That's right.
So I knew at the age of 5 what I wanted to do growing up. And I think it's because all of my idols growing up, whether it be Michael Kay calling baseball games, Chris Jericho, professional wrestler, huge inspiration of mine of how creative he is in a ton of different spaces. I'm a huge rock and roll guy.
That's cool.
So is he. Dave Grohl, the Foo Fighters, the way he carries himself above anything else. I'm not a musician. My brother's a huge musician, but just the way that guy carries himself for being like the face of rock and roll, just a down-to-earth guy, I'm inspired by that, and that's who I want to come off as, someone who's as genuine as hell, and at the same time considered one of the more giving and nicer people in the industry that you work with. Because the more people you work with that are like that, the happier everybody is going to be involved, right? Not only just spiritually, but financially, professionally, all the above. So all of my idols, when I was 17 years old, were in their 40s and 50s. So I carried myself as a 40 or 50-year-old. And it just clicked with me like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, that's why I act so old and people think I'm older. Because all of my idols that I look up to and I try to, duplicate myself after are all in their 40s and 50s. So I think that's why I'm mature. And I've always been intrigued by that space. So I don't think it was necessarily like, oh, I just like didn't like fit in a way. It was more so like I was just always drawn to that crowd.